Let's cut the bullshit right now. It's almost 2026, and if you're being honest with yourself, you're probably hoping this year will be different. You're telling yourself that when the calendar flips, something inside you will magically change. That you'll wake up more motivated, more disciplined, more focused, more ready. But you already know the truth. Nothing changes just because the year does. You've been here before, you've told yourself the same thing last year. And the year before that, you said, "This time I'll start." You said, "This time I won't quit." You said, "This time I'll finally become who I know I can be." And then life happened. You got tired, you got distracted, you made excuses, and slowly, without even realizing it, you went right back to being the same person with the same habits and the same regrets. This isn't meant to shame you. This is meant to wake you up, because 2026 is coming whether you're ready or not. And it doesn't care how motivated you feel. It doesn't care how many plans you make. It doesn't care how badly you want things to change. The only thing that decides if 2026 will be different is what you do, not what you hope. Right now, there are two versions of you. The one who keeps waiting, and the one who finally decides they're done waiting. This isn't about becoming perfect. It's not about overnight transformation. And it's definitely not about some fake new year, new me nonsense. It's about one decision. Are you going to let another year pass while telling yourself you'll start soon? Or are you finally going to take responsibility for your life? Because if you don't change anything, 2026 will look exactly like every year before it. And deep down, you know that already. Let's be honest about something most people won't admit. You already know what you need to do. You don't need another plan. You don't need another video. You don't need another burst of motivation. You need consistency. And that's the part you keep avoiding. You keep telling yourself you'll start when you feel ready, when things calm down, when life gives you more time. But that moment never comes. It never has. And it never will. Because life doesn't slow down for you. If anything, it speeds up. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. And suddenly it's the end of another year, and you're asking yourself the same question again. Why am I still here? Not here physically. Here mentally. Here emotionally. Here in the same place you swore you wouldn't be. This is the part where most people quit without even trying. They tell themselves they're different, that they'll figure it out later, that it's not that bad. But that's just comfort talking. And comfort is dangerous. Comfort keeps you stuck. Progress feels boring at first. Discipline feels uncomfortable. Showing up when no one is watching feels pointless. That's why most people don't do it. They wait for confidence. They wait for motivation. They wait for proof that it's worth it. But confidence comes after action. Motivation comes after movement. And proof only comes when you stop quitting. 2026 isn't going to reward you for wanting it badly. It's going to reward you for what you do daily. Not the big, dramatic changes. The small, unexciting ones you repeat even when you don't feel like it. So ask yourself this. Seriously, are you willing to be uncomfortable for a few months? Or would you rather stay uncomfortable for the rest of your life? Because doing nothing is a choice too. And it always costs more than you think. Here's the part nobody likes to hear. No one is coming to save you. There's no perfect mentor showing up. No sudden opportunity that fixes everything. No moment where life taps you on the shoulder and says, "Okay, now it's your turn." That only happens in movies. In real life, change starts quietly. It starts when you decide to stop lying to yourself. You've been blaming circumstances for a long time. Your past, your energy, your mood, your situation. And maybe some of those things are real. Maybe you really did have it harder than most. But here's the truth that matters more than all of that. Your excuses don't care about your future. Every time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," you're training yourself to delay. Every time you quit when it gets uncomfortable, you're teaching yourself that discomfort wins. Every time you avoid the work, you reinforce the identity of someone who doesn't follow through. And identities are dangerous things to build Because once you start seeing yourself as the person who doesn't finish, the person who always starts strong and fades out, the person who talks about change but never commits, you begin to live up to it. 2026 doesn't require you to become someone new. It requires you to stop betraying the version of yourself that wants more. You don't need intensity, you don't need obsession, you don't need to burn yourself out. You need honesty. Honesty about how often you quit, honesty about how much time you waste, honesty about the fact that deep down you know you could be doing more. This isn't about being hard on yourself, it's about finally being real with yourself, because growth doesn't start with motivation, it starts with responsibility, and the moment you take responsibility, everything changes. Not instantly, but permanently. You stop asking, why isn't this working? And you start asking, what am I avoiding? That question changes everything. Every January, people do the same thing. They promise too much, too fast. They wake up one day and decide they're going to change everything at once. New routine, new mindset, new discipline, new life. And for a few days, maybe even a week, it feels good. Then reality hits. They miss one day, they slip once, they fall behind, and instead of adjusting, they quit. Not because they're weak, but because they built a plan that relied on motivation instead of structure. That's why most people fail their New Year goals before February even starts. They don't lose because they're incapable. They lose because they never changed how they operate. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. If your life is built on reacting to how you feel, 2026 won't be different. If your habits depend on motivation, 2026 won't be different. If your discipline disappears the moment life gets uncomfortable, 2026 won't be different. Real change is boring at first. It's waking up and doing the thing you said you would, even when nothing exciting happens afterward. It's choosing progress without praise. It's building momentum when no one's clapping. And that's exactly why it works. Most people want proof before effort. But effort is the proof. You don't need a perfect routine. You need a repeatable one. You don't need massive goals. You need small actions that stack. You don't need a dramatic transformation story. You need a quiet streak of days where you didn't quit. 2026 doesn't need you to be extreme. It needs you to be consistent. And consistency isn't about never failing. It's about refusing to stop. Missing a day isn't failure. Quitting is. So if you want this year to be different, stop aiming for a new version of yourself and start building a system the current version of you can actually maintain. That's how people really change. One of the biggest lies you've been told is this: do it when you feel ready. Feeling ready is a luxury most people never get, and if you wait for it, you'll stay exactly where you are. Your feelings are not designed to help you grow. They're designed to keep you comfortable. They tell you to rest when you should move. They tell you to avoid discomfort when discomfort is exactly what you need. They convince you that tomorrow will be better, even when tomorrow looks exactly like today. That's why discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is a decision. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline shows up whether you feel like it or not. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If you only work when you feel good, you'll barely work at all. 2026 will test you. There will be days when you're tired, days when nothing seems to move forward, days when your progress feels invisible. Those days, decide who you become. Not the big wins, not the fresh starts, the quiet days where quitting feels justified. This is where most people talk themselves out of change. They say they're burned out when they're actually undisciplined. They say they need a break when they really need structure. Discipline isn't punishment. It's self-respect. It's doing what you said you would, even when your emotions disagree. It's keeping promises to yourself when no one else is watching. You don't need to feel confident. You need to act. Confidence is built through follow-through. Self-belief is built through evidence. And evidence only comes from action. So stop asking yourself how you feel. Start asking yourself what needs to be done. That question doesn't lie. Here's what most people never realize until it's too late. You don't fail because you're bad at starting. You fail because you never change who you believe you are. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. When you skip the work, you're not just skipping a task, you're reinforcing the identity of someone who backs out. When you follow through, even on something small, you're building evidence that you can be trusted. That's how real confidence is formed, not from affirmations, not from thinking positively, but from keeping promises to yourself over and over again. Right now, you probably don't trust yourself fully. And that's not an insult, it's a consequence. You've told yourself, I'll start too many times. You've said, this is the year too many times. And you've watched yourself quit enough times that part of you expects it now. That expectation is dangerous because when you expect to quit, you plan for it. You leave escape routes. You give yourself permission to stop. If you want 2026 to be different, you have to close those exits. That doesn't mean going extreme. It means removing the option to negotiate with yourself every day. You don't wake up asking, do I feel like doing this? You wake up knowing it's already decided. That's what disciplined people do differently. They don't rely on willpower. They remove the debate. And once the debate is gone, action becomes easier. Momentum doesn't come from massive effort. It comes from consistency. One completed task leads to another. One kept promise leads to confidence. 1 week of showing up leads to a different self-image. And once your identity shifts, quitting feels wrong. That's when change becomes real. Time is the one thing you don't get back. Not motivation, not energy, not opportunities. Time. And most people don't waste it all at once. They leak it slowly. A day here, a week there, another year telling themselves they'll start soon. Soon is the most dangerous word there is. Soon sounds responsible. Soon sounds patient. Soon feels safe. But soon quietly turns into never. You don't notice it happening while you're in it. You only notice when you look back and realize how long you've been standing still. When you see younger versions of yourself in old photos, and remember what you promised them. I won't be here forever. I won't live like this. I'll figure it out. And then life kept moving. 2026 isn't special because it's a new year. It's special because it's another chance you don't want to waste. Regret doesn't come from failing. It comes from not trying. It comes from knowing you could have done more but chose comfort instead. From realizing that the pain you avoided short-term turned into a heavier pain later. The truth is, future you is already watching what you do tonight, watching what you choose when no one's forcing you, watching whether you take responsibility or delay again. You don't need to rush, but you cannot drift. Drifting is how people lose years. So ask yourself something honestly, not emotionally. If nothing changed for the next 12 months, would you be okay with that? If the answer is no, then waiting longer doesn't make sense. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to stop postponing your life. Because time doesn't pause while you decide. Here's the part that actually matters. You don't need to feel inspired to move forward. You don't need certainty. You don't need permission. You need ownership. Ownership of where you are. Ownership of what you've avoided. Ownership of the fact that no one else is responsible for fixing your life. That doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything. It means accepting that from this point forward, the direction is yours to choose. Most people stay stuck because they keep looking outward. They wait for conditions to improve. They wait for life to get easier. They wait for clarity to magically appear. But clarity comes after action, not before it. The people who change don't have better circumstances. They make better decisions inside the circumstances they already have, and those decisions are usually small, unimpressive, unseen. It's choosing to show up even when no one notices. It's doing the work even when it feels pointless. It's trusting that consistency compounds even when results are delayed. 2026 doesn't need you to overhaul your life. It needs you to stop abandoning yourself. Stop quitting when things get quiet. Stop restarting every time it gets hard. Stop treating discipline like something temporary instead of a standard. You don't need to prove anything to anyone else. This isn't about comparison. This is about becoming someone you respect, someone who follows through, someone who doesn't negotiate with their future, someone who understands that progress is built one decision at a time. If you take responsibility now, calmly and consistently, your life will change. Not overnight, but permanently. And that's the kind of change that actually lasts. So here's where this comes back to you. Not the version of you that wants change, the version of you that's willing to act. You don't need to transform your entire life this week. You don't need to have everything figured out before the year starts. You don't need to feel fearless or confident. You just need to stop walking away from yourself. Progress doesn't come from massive moments. It comes from quiet decisions made repeatedly. It's choosing to start even when it feels awkward. It's choosing to continue when the excitement fades. It's choosing to stay when quitting feels justified. That's how momentum is built. Most people think change is dramatic. In reality, it's subtle. It looks like doing the same small things when no one's watching. It looks like consistency without applause. It looks like discipline that doesn't announce itself. And one day, without realizing it, you look back and notice something different. You trust yourself more, you hesitate less, you don't rely on motivation the way you used to. Not because life became easier, but because you became steadier. 2026 doesn't need to be your breakthrough year. It just needs to be the year you stop abandoning your progress, the year you stop resetting every time things get hard, the year you stop waiting for permission to take your life seriously. If you do that, everything else will follow in time. Not perfectly, not quickly, but honestly, and that's enough. Before this ends, I want you to remember something. You don't need to be extraordinary to change your life. You just need to stop giving up on yourself. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they quit quietly. They stop showing up. They stop believing their effort matters. And then they slowly accept a life they never really wanted. You don't have to do that. You can decide that this year won't be about dramatic promises or fake motivation. It will be about consistency, about responsibility, about doing the work even when no one is watching. One decision at a time, one day at a time. If this message resonated with you, if any part of this felt uncomfortably honest, you're not alone. A lot of people feel this way. Most just never talk about it. And if you want more calm, direct motivation like this, no hype, no yelling, no fake positivity, subscribing genuinely helps me keep making these videos. You don't need to comment anything clever. Even a single word is enough if this helped you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And more importantly, thank you for not giving up on yourself yet. 2026 is coming. Make it count. Quietly, consistently, and on your own terms.